Welcome to another virtual panel in our Sustainable Packaging Summit series. Today we're focusing on the potential of cutting-edge smart packaging technologies to drive sustainability, as well as adding value to other dimensions of packaging. This has always been a really big interest area for the Packaging Europe team, but it's become even more central to our activities and curiosity as of this year, following our strategic partnership with IPEA, the Active and Intelligent Packaging Industry Association. And through that partnership, we will be co-organizing 2 events focusing on smart packaging in the autumn, which I'm sure we'll be mentioning and promoting later on in today's discussion. So today we're going to be exploring where the key opportunities are and discussing how industry can introduce and scale up active and intelligent packaging. We're hoping to have time at the end of today's discussion to answer some of your audience questions. So please feel free to share your questions and your comments through the LinkedIn comments section, and we'll try to address as many as we can at the end. So I'm delighted to have with me today 3 expert panelists who can talk us through this subject. We have Marcel van Rossum, who is Senior Director for Supply Chain Strategy and Deployment at Johnson & Johnson. Anita Etrati, who is Strategy and Consulting Senior Manager at Accenture, and Yves de Ferrante, who's Managing Director of IPEA. So let's introduce and get to know our speakers and get to know the subject matter at the same time. I'd like to start with Yves. Maybe you could introduce yourself, Yves, but also tell us about IPEA, what its aims are as an organization, and generally, what do we mean by active and intelligent packaging?
Okay, I'll try to do so. Thank you very much, Tim. Well, my name is Yves de Ferrante. I'm Managing Director of IPEA, Active and Intelligent Packaging Industry Association. Well, I hope I went through the list of people who are viewing us at this moment, and I hope most of you know us. If not, then we did a bad job the last 10 years. What we do at IPEA is very simple. We promote the use and implementation of active and intelligent packaging technologies. And how we do that is in different ways. The main focus what we do is we connect brands with technology providers in the smart packaging industry. Smart packaging is the overall name of active and intelligent packaging. Active packaging, I've seen your names, so I don't need to explain because you're all in this industry. Active packaging is, of course, that is the packaging technologies which you add to packaging to which have an influence on the condition of the product. Most of the time, this is extension of shelf life, so that the cheese or the broccoli lasts not 7 days, but 10 or 12. And intelligent packaging is those technologies which you add to the packaging, which know something about the product, the condition or the origin or where it has to go to, or some connection between the packaging and the user. So that's what we do. We do this for 10 years. We have about around 2,000 members, and we are trying to be the knowledge source for this industry as well.
Thanks very much, If. And let's turn to Anita. Could you tell us about Accenture for those in the audience who don't know, and more specifically, what's your role and how you relate to smart packaging?
Sure, thank you so much, and also welcome to everyone who has logged in. My name is Anita Edrati. I'm with Accenture about 10 years, and I am leading Industry X for consumer goods and services and retail here in Switzerland. I'm in beautiful Zurich, and yeah, so Accenture, I think you all know, if not, Google, because it is a big company that has about more than 700,000 employees, and Industry X is one service group that Accenture has, and Industry X serves bringing intelligence technologies to specific industry. In my case, it would be in consumer goods and services and retail. And we are really delighted to cooperate also with AIPAA and also moving the very hot topic, smart connected packaging forward. And for us, it's a very important topic to put in our hands onto because it has a lot of opportunities. It is not a new topic. I think some of you in the audience would know. I'm personally 10 years really working on this topic in different industries, so really retail focus and now as a consultant.
Thank you very much, Anita. And last but not least, let's introduce Marcel. I guess Johnson & Johnson requires no introduction to anyone at all in the audience. So maybe better to focus on what your role is within J&J and why is what areas and opportunities in smart packaging are of particular interest to your company.
Yeah, thanks, Tim, and welcome everybody. Like you said, if people do not know Johnson & Johnson, we also did not do a good job here. But I'm working. Maybe a slight introduction on Johnson & Johnson because it's a very big company, and we have three sectors. We have a pharma sector, we have a consumer sector, and we have a medical device sector. I'm working in that last group, the medical device sector, and in that organization, we have a supply chain strategy and deployment group, and we are looking into customization challenges. We are looking into customer solutions, and for myself, smart packaging is already a journey of more than 5 years. I also happen to know Eve for more than 5 years. And it all started with looking into, in the first instance, a digital label. So we do a lot of labeling, but how could we do the things in a different way? And that's where we start looking into smart packaging applications and solutions. And what we are currently doing is a lot of, I would call it, small parts of solutions, so kind of spot solutions, either in an end market or somewhere in a manufacturing site. But more and more, we try to look into an holistic end-to-end value chain perspective from a smart packaging perspective. And one of the things I always try to explain people is packaging is a very broad world. You can look from a consumer perspective, what you do with your packaging, but you can also look from a manufacturing and seller perspective. From that perspective, you see a lot of, like Tim is also mentioning, sustainability projects happening. But I'm looking especially from a supply chain perspective, and I try to understand what's the value of visibility, and how can smart packaging help in that journey.
Thank you, Marcel. Thank you. So yeah, I'd like to home in on exploring where the key market drivers and opportunities are for these smart packaging technologies. And obviously, as I said at the start, this is part of the Sustainable Packaging Summit series, so we'll certainly talk about sustainability, but I think this is a topic where it's very interesting to branch out a little bit further and to contemplate the other opportunities that we can see. So if maybe I could ask you to start by giving more of an overview. You talked about the shelf life extension potential with active packaging.
Yeah.
Could you just give us more of an overview of where are the key sustainability opportunities in this area?
Yeah, of course. Well, what we see, I mean, smart packaging is broad. It has to do with product identification, brand protection, etc. What we're looking here now today is what is the role of smart packaging in sustainability, and I see four, let's say, topics or groups in this industry, where smart packaging has a direct link to sustainability aspects. One is, of course, the active materials, which I mentioned already before. I mean, 30% of the food in the world is not eaten. This is a huge, but still not sexy enough, topic in this industry. Everybody knows it. We're trying to find solutions. We at IPR believe that there's only one solution to be found, which is in technologies. We don't believe that we can teach consumers or by rules or regulations or laws to lose less weight, to spoil less food. So we believe that the solution is in technologies, which is, as we said, shelf life extension. There are different developments going on in that area. Aptar is, of course, a good example of that, but there are also many studies going on in nanotechnologies or bio-based add-ons to packaging materials which extend the shelf life of a product. So active materials, active packaging is an important topic in smart packaging and sustainability. Then the next topic would be sensors and indicators. So this has to do with knowing more about the product. What is the condition of the product? This is end buy dates, getting more information on the condition of the product, etc. There are several developments also going on in this area. Elegance is a good example. Genten Dimago is doing several technologies. Accenture and AMD has launched a project. I think it was last year or the year before. Another one is time strip. So sensors and indicators is knowing more about the condition of the product. This is definitely a role of smart packaging. Then the third group, I would say, is packaging material identification, which, of course, I guess we all know the Holy Grail project, whereby you add an invisible code. It can be, in this case, it's a Digimark watermark, but there are others as well, where you, in the wasteline, can filter out the materials, the specific materials from the waste, and sort them out to be used again. This is a very good example of smart packaging. A big example also. I mean, I guess we all know about this project, but you can find it on the internet as well. It's called Holy Grail. There are several other initiatives in this area. This one is from Digimark and everything. There's another one based in the Netherlands called Filigrade. Pragmatic is doing a project in this area called Sorted. So another good example of smart packaging and sustainability. And then the fourth one is connected packaging. These are the two. This has to do with how you say consumer engagement, how to get in touch with the consumer, and in that way encourage them to recycle or to use the product in a more clever way. And the second thing, what you can do with connected packaging is supply chain efficiency. Both those topics I leave to Anita and myself.
Thank you very much, Yves. I've just shared a link to the Holy Grail website and where it is relevant during the course of this discussion. I'll try to put some links in the comments section that you can follow up with. That was very professionally handed over as well. If I feel like you don't really need me to moderate this too much, but well anticipated. So marketing kind of applications is another area that's very interesting with active and intelligent packaging. So maybe we could ask Anita to talk us through where you see the drivers and opportunities in this context.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. One thing I like to add is smart packaging or smart connected packaging, I mean, brings a lot of data. And sometimes some companies are really, the champions in it, and they really know how to, withdraw the data along the value chain. And interestingly, when we got into interviewing some of our senior executives in diverse industries, we realized that there is a huge trend, as you said it correctly, and it lies very much so in marketing or giving product information to the end consumer. But the challenge is also on the other side, how can you, withdraw the data at the end consumer and feed it back to product designers or manufacturers? So nowadays, companies are really seeking to get the right information, the right data, and also a sophisticated amount of data where they can make appropriate decisions. We all know with all the technologies that has evolved, also our habits have changed dramatically, especially also after COVID. We are either staying at home, working at home. We have different habits now that has been generated. Today we go to a specific supermarket. Tomorrow we are like chatting with a friend and get some information. So what I'm describing here is that the consumer is also changing, and it's not anymore that we can cluster them and give them through, nowadays available smart packaging information or advertising, because each persona is really so different, even within this aggregated cluster. So these are the things that I see as an opportunity from technology-wise, because we have a lot of information and a lot of data, and also the technologies that brings us this data. Whereas on the other hand, challenges are companies sees on the one hand, where do I need to put the head of, let's say, smart packaging? Is it really, do I need to create a department for that? Or is it more, it is IT related? Or is it just really marketing related? So I see also in the market, they are really seeing it as an important chapter, but also try to identify who is really the department that needs to own it. So in that sort, I think there needs to be also a more C-level discussion on what really smart connected or smart packaging belongs or is about.
Okay, thank you. And Marcel, you already told us a bit about your journey into an interest in smart packaging and the smart labels opportunities. Could you expand a bit on where you see the potential added value that you can get? What's driving that interest?
Yeah. Well, no, absolutely. And first of all, I think Anita mentioned it. We move from dump pieces of cartons, plastics, whatever packaging material is made from, to the integration of technologies, like, for example, real-time sensors. And that gives us a lot of data. But I think the question mark is, how are we going to make that integration into, I would call it the software platforms? The world of data lakes, the world of APIs is developing very fast. And I think we have not yet figured out, at least from an industry perspective, how do we integrate that from different parts of that end-to-end value chain. So we start looking into customization question marks. And we came up with some ideas how we could use smart packaging solutions. Then we start looking into what we see already in the consumer world. How do you connect your packaging with potential customer information? So how could, in our case, we deliver a lot to hospitals. How can we use the packaging so that the hospitals can also use the packaging for additional information to be retrieved via the packaging, instead of moving into all kind of different websites for information. But then we also start thinking about, but if we have that information, we know much more about the real-time information with regard to our inventory. We quite often work from one factory who delivers a product across the world. We have a supply chain network where all kind of decisions needs to be taken. Is this product staying in the US? Is this product moved to Europe? Is this product moved to Asia? And how do you use that type of smart packaging in order to be able to have, we talk a lot about data, but at the end of the day, data leads to information, information leads to insights, and how are you going to use the insights to take the right decisions? So that is one. I also wanted to react, Tim, on the sustainability opportunities which Yves is mentioning. Also, we are using, or we think we could use this for achieving sustainable solutions, either to reduce scrap or obsolete products, because you have much better information when a product is in a node in your network as part of inventory. But also we looked into how could we take out the instructions for use out of our packaging and use the outside packaging to give the connection with the right website to go for an electronic instruction for use there where the regulatory bodies in the countries do allow that. So also from a sustainability, I think it gives us opportunities to make big steps. And I think last but not least, also in terms of sustainability, is when you have better real-time information, it becomes easier to redesign your logistics to be able to do reverse logistics. So if you have products on one side of the equation, but you need it for example, not anymore in Asia, but you would like to use it in Europe, it's easier to redesign and get your products back by a better reverse logistics.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Marcel. One of the things that strikes me when we talk about the intelligent and the connected packaging side of the smart packaging industry is how there are opportunities for that one functionality of connectivity to have added value across multiple areas, multiple touch points. So, we've talked about supply chain, talked about sorting technologies in the context of the digital watermarking, and then also talked about consumer interactivity, which can drive better behavior or better engagement with the product. And I guess there's also opportunities with more high level data understanding of, for example, being able to report recycling rates for a brand across the whole geography if this is scannable. And at the same time, we're going through, we've talked about, well, we're going through the industry 4.0. I'm thinking about Holy Grail 2.0, industry 4.0, and increasing amounts of data coming from the production process. So I guess there's a lot of opportunities to realize, and we're still quite early in that process.
Yeah, Tim, if I may react to that, because that's absolutely a good point. We think that this is the next step of the smart packaging industry, which means you have to actually, what we see in the past is, and which is logic because this is how things develop, is that technology providers, they develop a certain application for smart packaging. Let's say brand protection. So we're developing a code or a chip or something. We add it to the pack, and at the end of line, the consumer or the user can see, yes, this is a protected thing. We believe, and then, this is one application, one technology, one application. I think we should step away from that and look not at the application of a certain technology, but overlook the entire supply chain and see if you add a technology to a pack. It can be anything, we don't care, a code or whatever. How can you use that for different applications in different parts of the supply chain? And this is definitely the next step for this industry. Step away from the siloed way of thinking in the supply chain, which if you read the Accenture report, you will read everything about it, because it's all about silos. Transport and logistics has its own world, retail has its own world, the consumer has his own world, so it's not connected. Step away from that, go into your helicopter and look down over the supply chain and think, okay, there is now an indicator, for example, for let's say a condition indicator. How can we use that in every part of the supply chain? Well, the Holy Grail thing might be a good example as well, because they added a invisible watermark to certain packaging material to be used in the end of waste line. Isn't there a way to use it before in the supply chain as well? And for what application? So there are big roles here to play for companies like, Kessler, Avery Dennison, Everything, Williott, Systec, those companies with all their very smart technology providers around that, is to step away from one application in one silo. Look at smart packaging, and this is next step for the smart packaging industry. I'm 100% sure about that. What can it do in the whole supply chain?
Thank you. Yeah,
and Tim.
Yeah, please build on that.
I can react on that, because I'm fully aligned with what Eve is just saying, and I think that's also what I personally have been experiencing in this 5-year journey. And one of the questions marks is, okay, what kind of shift in mindset do we need in order to have a higher adoption of this type of technologies? And for me, I think it starts with there needs to be a holistic approach in an end-to-end value chain. And we are not going into the semantics, value chain versus supply chain, but you need to have that holistic approach. What can the technology do from a let's say start of your process to the end where you deliver to your end customer? and in between there are different use cases. Yeah, and like Eve is mentioning, transportation people have a different use case than the ones who are responsible for inventory. But if we are not able to, and I think Anita also with Accenture is doing a lot there to help bringing these insights. But if we are not able to, let's say, work this out from an end-to-end perspective, we keep trying to solve I call it the local issues, the smaller parts in the chain. But I think one of the problems is, okay, now you're going to add a whatever it is, a real-time sensor into the packaging, integrated in the packaging. Discussion which will start immediately is, okay, but that's adding cost. Yeah. And the department responsible for the cost of the product will say, yeah, but hey, I'm not going to add any cost because I don't see the benefits. And these benefits are there, but they're not always seen by the ones who have to make the investment as a department. And I think that is where I'm also very interested in Anita's view here. That is, I think, where we need to start thinking from an industry perspective. So being a end user like Johnson & Johnson or whatever company it is, and say, okay, what is the best way to have that conversation in the companies who are trying to use these new technologies and can make and can benefit from it.
Yeah. So we're talking about a mindset shift across the industry, and as Anita alluded to, a challenge to kind of think within organizations, where are the possibilities and how do we link them up to the various organizational objectives? How do we bridge that gap? I guess IPEA as a platform is kind of ideal place to try to link up these ideas.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for this, Tim. So we have a job. Well, this is true. I mean, we are doing this from the beginning. What we do is the smart packaging ecosystem is a very difficult one because it has to do with so many different job titles in a company, in the supply chain. It's brand manager, it's the packaging engineers, it's IT, it's marketing, it's product development. It's a very mixed group of people. So what we do is we try to bring them together and let them talk. Discuss it, and I must say we have been always good at that, to bring the right people together. What is needed is a further development of technologies, broader platforms with more applications, and it would be good if at least the brands will appoint a specific job title, specific person, for this topic. Smart packaging director or whatever, who overviews the whole supply chain, actually. So that would be good. We know that there are companies like Mondelez and Kraft Heinz and Coca-Cola, they are doing that. So that's good. We also see the bigger packaging companies doing that, like Tetra Pak and Sealed Air, etc. So we're getting there, but we need to, if you rebuild the use of data in a supply chain, that takes time.
Thank you. Anita, Aethys referred to the Accenture Reports that was released, a really impressive piece of research, which we'll share the link to the audience to read that. But could you expand a little bit on, you made the original point about the organizational challenges. How do you see us moving forward better in that respect?
Yeah, definitely. Before that, I would like to answer a little bit what Marcel and also Eve mentioned. From Marcel's perspective, what I really liked is, let's go on the helicopter view and look at it. And when we do that, all those different aspects that we just mentioned now here between us all was the aspect of we share data actually. And every one of us along the value chain, supply chain needs data. So that point really strikes me and is interesting, because when we look at the data itself is there. Is more, how do we capture it? And to Eve's point, yes, technologies need to be developed and expanded, but I also think we do have the right technologies in place. It's for me, like when I make an analogy, it is for me like having different puzzle pieces, and we need now to co-op together. And maybe AIPA is a nice platform, which I, had the pleasure to be there on site and talk with different technologies, talk with different brands, and then understand how we can put those little puzzle pieces together to help them. So there is like a point we can act and start today with something, which is already there. It's just to understand which puzzle pieces I need to put together. And there is a aspiration, the aim, addressing topics like food of future, the next trend in technologies. I mean, metaverse is a big buzzword everywhere. So I think we need to see it in parallel, not to make this big topic bigger as it already is. Also helping pathways to, you can act today actually now, and we can just collaborate with whatever existing today and based on technologies. And frankly, those technologies that are existing today, we can really wire them together and have at least more transparency to become sustainable. Because on the other side, Eve is totally right. When we, put the topic of connected packaging on the other side to how does it address actually sustainability? I mean, sustainability is all about people, planet, and profit. Honestly, nobody would move an inch forward, as Marcel said, if there is no return on invest, right? So what all of these things, when I see that, and it is also one of those topics that I wrote my thesis about it, the transparency, the impact of transparency that it has on a sustainable supply chain. And we worked with the global retailer and tried to understand what kind of technologies we need to wire together. And this was literally 10 years ago. When I look now how technology has evolved, I think we are very good shape to still wire those together. In glimpse of this, definitely, and Tim, to your point, we have written together the point of view and address those topics. What are the chances today that you can do as a company, and what are the aspirations you should do or you can do by creating now the way up to, that you can address them, let's say, in 5 years.
Thank you very much, Anita. So we've had a few audience questions coming through, and I want to make sure we have time to address some of them. So I'm going to move forward and kind of zooming out from the from the bigger picture back into the more granular level. I wondered if any of you would like to pick out some key areas of innovation that you're seeing going on, or key applications that you're excited about at the moment. Marcel, you're I guess scouting all the time for what could be applied. Is there anything that not necessarily an individual startup has come across, but potentially particular areas of technology that you think are worth watching?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. It's a difficult question because there are so many technologies out there. First of all, I think if brands like ours are using new technologies, the technology needs to be proven. Because we talk about a lot of products, we talk about a lot of customers, and our customer service is the number one why we do a lot of things. Besides the fact that the product itself needs to be excellent. The one word which has not been used yet, but and although some people might say, yeah, but that's not new technology anymore, but RFID is still in development. And I sometimes tell people, yeah, but okay, if you take an RFID from 15 years ago, it's a different RFID today. If you take a computer from 15 years ago, it's a different computer than we use today, and still we call it a computer. So as I'm on the side of the user, we are looking into technologies. We are looking into the new technologies. There's special groups continuously scanning what comes on the market and how could we use it, and then we try to build some small use cases. But if I take a step back, more with both feet on the ground, I'm still interested to see what's happening in the world of the smart sensors, and some people call it RFID.
Okay, thank you. If Anita, any other areas that you would like to pick out?
Well, it's, while Marcel is completely right, RFID is actually it's booming at this moment. It's going well, but again, I come back to my previous story. It is still used most of the time for one application, scan in and out the shop or something like that, and that we like to see to be changed. So the most interesting technological development what I've seen in smart packaging, which is actually the last 2 years going very fast, is item level identification, which means every single product has its own ID. And that opens up a world which is incredible. So this is indeed, it's all data, it's all IT, but it's going very fast. And if that ID is generated by RFID or NFC or a code or a QR, whatever, this is a very big, fast development from which we hope and believe that more applications will be possible within one system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Tim, maybe building on what Eva just saying, maybe and I don't mean that in a negative way, but maybe the question is not the right question. Maybe the question should be, what new innovative ecosystems can we build in combination with the smart packaging technologies which are currently available? Because we talk a lot about smart packaging technologies, but at the end of the day, these technologies needs to be incorporated in an ecosystem. And what I mean with that is, once you get the data, how do you bring it back into your whatever systems you use, SAP or planning systems or consumer systems, and rethink in a different way how such an ecosystem should look like. Mm-hmm. Because that could well help these technologies to really grow compared to what we are currently doing. But Yves, interested to see your
this is
as well as Anita's one.
Yeah, well, this is spot on. It's also a bit of a call for action to the smart packaging industry. Overlook the supply chain. Don't look at one application. Rethink the supply chain, and this is a big thing. But the smart packaging industry will be successful only if they can do that.
Definitely.
Thank you, Anita.
Definitely. To add to that, I mean, some companies started already anyhow on digital transformation. Why not adding this on their digital transformation agenda, right? So this is something that they can add and empower to the right functions, maybe, and also they should be ready to thread incoming data. So think about it's good to capture and to have the information about the consumer, or to give them some insights at the later stage. But then also think about how and what kind of technology do you have in-house today that can wire, and we call it the digital thread, back to manufacturing, to product engineers, product designers, to infuel them with more accurate real-time data. And last but not least, as Yves also said, and also Marcel said, to build a technology architecture that can start to break those silos. So we all really encourage you to think just about these 3 points we just mentioned, which also you can read definitely in the report.
Yeah, and Tim, maybe to add there, and it should be clear to the audience that I'm a supply chain person, because I talk a lot about the supply chain, but that's where I'm looking into this whole smart packaging. More and more, we think in terms of touchless supply chains. And touchless supply chains is about the value of prediction, the ability to track, the ability to inspect your product, to record what has been used, to reconcile if the information is correct, and last but not least, to replenish your your inventory. And with that in mind, let's rethink these value chains and say, okay, how could smart packaging play an active role in these processes, which could be more and more touchless instead of people involved with scanners, etc., and taking much more time.
Yeah. And bringing that back to our starting point of sustainability, we tend to focus on end of life impacts when we talk about sustainability, but there's a great deal of harmony between what you've just talked about, Marcel, and having a more sustainable footprint overall. The more efficiency and intelligence we have around the supply chain as a whole, the less waste, the lower the carbon footprint, etc. So that's
Absolutely.
a strong driver as well, I think. Great. Well, I think I'm going to turn over to audience questions in a second. Let me just share a few links with you. So I will tell you what links I'm about to share, and there's actually about a 45-second lapse between us having this conversation and me doing things and you seeing it. So I'm going to say what is going to be shared, and then I will put them on the feed in a moment. So I will share a link to the Accenture report that we've talked about, and that's really highly recommended that you read that if you're interested in this. And I will also share 2 links to the events that we will be co-hosting with IPEA in this autumn. The first of those will be at Chicago at Pack Expo on the 25th of October. That will be the Smart Packaging Summit, particularly focusing on the marketing opportunities of smart packaging. And then the big annual World Congress, the IPEA World Congress, taking place in Amsterdam on 14th and 15th of November. So I'll share those, and you will see them popping up in the comments in a moment. So let's move on then to some audience questions, and thanks to everyone who's shared one. So yeah, here's a question that actually kind of popped it up in my mind when we were talking about the barriers and challenges that I think is quite interesting. Can you please discuss integrating open standards, access, and transparency so that the whole supply chain can participate in this holistic vision? Proprietary standards could be a killer for this vision, don't you think? So yeah, I mean, when we talk about trying to join up the various stakeholders and areas of application, how much do you see kind of harmonization of standards, simplification of this market as an important next step?
Well, this of course is the hardest part of this discussion because you have to fight silos. This has all to do very difficult to answer. This has all to do with rethinking the supply chain. And developing a new standard is developing a new standard for the entire supply chain. Now there are standards for different silos. So it has all to do with rethinking how we will use the data in the supply chain. And there are roles. I mean, GS1 can play a role in that. Maybe IPR can play a role in that. But this should be on the agenda.
Thank you. Marcel, Anita, would you like to comment on that as well?
I mean, standards exist, right? GS1. I mean, it's a pretty good standard, standardized like barcode, or let's say code family. So they have all sorts of different identifiers on every little level along the value chain / supply chain. I think that is a pretty good beginning, right? So they have also good solutions around how they comply with certain technologies.
Yeah, Tim, to the point of Anita, try to stick as much as possible to available standards if they work well. And maybe it's not
Absolutely.
a question mark about standards, it's more a question mark about how to capture the data. And by capturing data, you can start using, it's not modern technology anymore, but data lakes have been giving us a great opportunity to rethink the way we capture our data. And APIs have given us the opportunity to be much smarter in how to capture which data out of which system.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's take another question. Here's a question asking about the opportunities to integrate smart packaging and blockchain technology.
Well, smart packaging and blockchain go hand in hand together. I mean, if you talk about, for example, from farm to fork projects, or where does the product come from? What is the origin of the product, or even the origin of the ingredients? Brand protection topics in smart packaging. This is all, I mean, blockchain is a very big part of that. So there is a direct connection between the technologies in smart packaging and blockchain.
Okay, thank you. Right, here's another question. Because Apple finally embraced web push, will brands be able to subscribe consumers to actionable real-time notifications directly from a packaging touchpoint? Is this something that brands are looking at as a channel?
That I don't know if brands are looking at that at this moment. I remember we waited for about 5 or 6 years before Apple embraced NFC, because they wanted to develop their own system. Now they embraced NFC. NFC is a important technology in smart packaging, and when Apple embraced it, that opened up a lot of doors. So, but this I don't know.
Okay. I mean, going back to the question of standardization, I think we addressed that more from the point of view of regulatory standards, etc. There's also, I guess, an angle talking about the industry coalescing around standard technologies and platforms, and the ability to, particularly when we think about consumer interaction, I guess what we want to have is it to be as seamless and easy to interact with packaging as possible, and for example, not to require a specific app to interact with a specific piece of packaging, but something that is very frictionless.
Yeah, nowadays, I mean, QR codes already don't need a specific app. You just switch on your camera NFC doesn't need a specific app. You hold your phone at the product and it does something for you. On the other hand, there is also I find it always a bit funny that people are so against to put another app in their phone. What is your problem? I mean, I don't see that. You have already 300 apps in your phone. Why not put another one? But I don't see the real issue. That's what your phone is for. It's an app-based thing. So you need apps. Why not?
Yeah, and I think to the point of Ave, maybe it's not about using new apps because we all do it. But I think if what we need to continuously keep in mind is that if you do something for a value chain, that you don't need 5 different apps for one and the same value chain.
Yeah. Yes, that is fully understood.
Yeah. Okay, great. We've had a couple of questions that talk about recycling and recyclability. So I'm going to kind of conflate the two of them and ask for your comments here. So first was discussing the potential to support recycling through smart packaging, intelligent packaging, and asking why the recycling industry doesn't seem to be part of this effort as yet. And the other question was asking about whether certain smart packaging technologies might restrict the recyclability because of the additional elements that are put in there. I think I can start to answer the first question in that, for example, Holy Grail as a Holy Grail 2.0 as the project that is pushing forwards digital watermarking certainly does have the partnership of recyclers and municipalities, and it's just a process that requires all of the painstaking work of gathering evidence of proof of concept first of all, then industrial scale trials, and then making sure that there's the widespread support of all of the stakeholders so that the investment can go into refitting the scanning. So I know within that area of smart packaging, it is something that is really the whole value chain, and including the waste management side, are working on. Any other comments on those two elements of the recycling question?
Well, yes. Well, there are. I mean, Mondelez at this moment has launched a project with a QR code based on sustainability. So that doesn't harm the packaging material as such. There are other ways to increase the recyclability of the packaging material by encouraging the consumer to interact and give them information on what to do with it. There even have been projects which still need to be developed a bit more, where consumers can get benefits if they recycle the product well. Regarding the point of that you add a material or a chip, something to the packaging, which is not good for the environment. There are two things that needs to be taken into account. One is the technology is going on, so we know that there is
180, 190, still with us at 190.
Oh, sorry. Sorry that I was interrupted here. So there are technologies being developed that the chips or the are, for example, water-based or bio-based. That's a matter of time what will happen. But there is another issue here. The packaging industry has failed in the last centuries to spread the message, where is packaging good for? What does packaging do for the product? and for the supply chain. And we all know that it is good to pack each banana in plastic, because then we will waste less bananas. But nobody wants it, and the message from the packaging industry has failed there. So the packaging industry could never explain what they're doing for the products. I would say this is definitely a task for the smart packaging industry. Start to explain what the benefits are. Yes, you add maybe a chip or something or a code or something to the pack, and people will say, oh, you add something and you throw it away. Start to explain what the benefits are. What does it do? And if you don't do that, then people will not understand and they will judge it.
Thank you very much, If. Anything Anita or Marcel would like to add to that, or generally as a last word to our audience?
Ladies first.
Thanks, Marcel. I think it's a very interesting panel, I have to say, and I love, talking about all sorts of benefits that smart connected packaging has, and plus today's focus was on sustainability. I think being in that area for, I started 10 years ago, with a global retailer working on this, how, we can withdraw data along the value chain to create such a, let's say, sustainability cockpit to address it and certain topics around this. I see still there is area that we can still educate, share knowledge. And my last words around this, as Tim, you said, would be, I hope that everybody feels encouraged after this panel to either join us, be it in the US or in Amsterdam, in one of those events, and actively really use this network that we have now and share their knowledge and be open about their challenges and boundaries. Only if we speak up and say, what is your barrier, then we can able to help this community. And I love that we even break our silos on our own and start helping each other, how we can move forward and make this happen, that Eve so brilliantly explained.
Thank you. And we'll give the last word to Marcel.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I think I'm honored to be part of this panel. So thanks for the invitation. With everything which Eve and Anita have said, I think let me finish with the following. If we talk about packaging and we talk about smart packaging, we talk about a lot about the physical flow of the product. What smart packaging is also bringing is, besides the physical flow, there is the data flow. And once we are able to understand in that end-to-end value chain, how can we start better connecting the physical flow and the data flow, I think then we might hit the sweet spot of what smart packaging can do. And I think it's great if people are able to come over to Amsterdam or Chicago and have more access to the technologies which we are promoting.
Thank you very much, Marcel. Well, that's all we have time for today. I'll just remind you of what we just told about the events. So we have the Smart Packaging Summit in Pack Expo Chicago, 25th of October, the IPEA World Congress, which will be co-located with the Sustainable Packaging Summit Innovation Horizon Conference in Amsterdam on the 14th and 15th of September. And you can see more information about that through the packaging. Sorry, did I say October?
No,
Sorry.
you said September.
September. Definitely in November, yes. Apologies, it's been a long week and it's only Thursday. We also have the face-to-face Sustainable Packaging Summit on the 13th and 14th of September, definitely September, in Lisbon, if you're interested in coming along. All details of all of these can be found on the Packaging Europe website, and I also shared the links to the IPEA events on the chat. Thank you very much for joining us, everyone. I see we've got well over 400 people have registered for this event today, so it's a great audience, which tells us that there's a lot of interest in this topic, and hopefully you will join us on the journey of developing this this technology and the possibilities in the months and years to come. Thank you very much for now for joining us, and special thanks to our three speakers, Marcel van Rossum, Anita Etrati, and Eve de Ferranti. Goodbye.
Bye-bye all. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Wow. 400. Can you believe it?
Well, we have been